The elements that inspired me to direct Secret Invasion are really in Kyle Bradstreet's script. In the very first few pages, you discover themes of mistrust and paranoia and suspicion. And the main character of this episode, the catalyst that carries us into the story, a very complex story with many characters, is really simply Nick Fury, a man, not a superhero, a man without superpowers like flying or punching with big strong arms, but human superpowers like persuasion and empathy. And I love a human-scaled story that explores universal themes rather than a story that's too big that then tries to touch the heart. So I think that this story had all the elements that excite me as a storyteller, and I do feel that Marvel is the pinnacle of storytelling in Hollywood today, and to be able to enter that world, be invited into that world, and work not only with their resources but with their drive to tell story and clarify story and make it the best it can be, it was an exciting proposition.
What is the overall tone of the series?
This series, the tone of this series is much darker and grittier and more grounded than a typical Marvel show or movie. And I think part of that is the main character, a Nick Fury who has aged, gained wisdom, gained experience, but also he's broken a little bit, lost his step, feels like he needs to regain it. In order to do that, he needs to confront issues in his personal life, and part of that is to go inside and confront issues and challenges and questions in his internal life. And when you combine all of those things together, I really go to film noir. They feel like elements of film noir, and I think that, more than anything, created the tone of this show.
What was your vision for the style of the series?
The vision for the style of the series really came out of the answer to the preceding question, which is the creative team and I landed on film noir, and we immediately went to the greatest film noir of all time, The Third Man, and that led us to films from the 70s like The Conversation and Alan Pakula's Paranoia trilogy of Klute and The Parallax View and All the President's Men, which is then a short leap to things like The French Connection. And we put all those into a soup and tried to create a style, a feeling, and a look that suggested grayscale or a fogginess rather than a clear binary good and evil. This was anything could be anything. Anything could be around the next corner. So the style is really about obfuscation and mystery and not presenting but peeling back an onion, and to the best of our ability between locations and sets that needed to feel real in London and Russia and Washington, D.C. and even Oxford, England. We needed it to feel real, but we also needed it to feel shooting through things and mirrors and making things seem like not as they are.
Tell us about the tagline, "Who do you trust?" and why is it a major theme in the series?
The tagline, "Who do you trust?" is a major theme largely, again, because the story is about mistrust and paranoia and suspicion. And the metaphor for that is Skrulls who can shapeshift. So whoever you're talking to could be anybody, could be a Skrull, could be not who you think it is. And it's a little bit like an unreliable narrator, except I do believe that Nick Fury is always a reliable and steady narrator, even if he's a little on his back foot. And I think that his best friend Talos is always a reliable narrator. And so we can trust that they will take us into a story where they can't trust anything. And I think that creates a really fun ride for audiences.
The series gives us a look at Nick Fury's personal life. Is it fair to say that in some ways this is his story?
Well, I think he is the catalyst that brings us into a far more complex story with many, many characters, each of whom has an interesting arc and an interesting personal life and an interesting emotional truth. And this cast has done an excellent job of mining, exploring, and discovering all of those things. But ultimately, yes, this is a Nick Fury that we've never seen before, an evolution of Nick Fury that we've never seen before. He's aged, he's a little bit broken, and he needs to solve some things in his personal life that will help him accomplish the task that is set before him in this series. And in order to do that fully, I think we do end up feeling that this really is Nick Fury's arc from start to finish.
3 more. Tell us about working with the cast and what they bring to the series.
It's an amazing cast in this series. I loved working with them. It was, on some levels, an honor to work with this cast. It was a thrill. It was exciting. I'm a fanboy of everybody in the cast. And at the same time, I feel that celebrity has nothing to do with performance, storytelling, and character. I feel like my job is the same every day, no matter what I'm filming, what show I'm working on. I show up prepared. I show up understanding story. I show up understanding the character's purpose in that story. And I create an environment where actors can do their best work achieving those things. That said, when you work with this level of consummate professional, this level of experience, your job gets a little easier because they come so prepared and so understanding of the whole series and how they fit into it, that my job is really to give them a one-word note from time to time. And that was fun because I really was watching the show while I was making it.
Why was building practical sets important to you, and what did they add to the production value?
Building practical sets and using locations, for me, add a truth to this series and to every scene, in that I think part of the job of the screenwriter and the cinematographer and the production designer and the actors and me is to create within this two-dimensional world that is filmed entertainment, to create the real feeling of a three-dimensional world. And I think that blue screen environments, CGI environments are incredible and have accomplished a lot, but ultimately you're shooting two human beings in a blue room, which there's always something missing for them. They're not connecting as deep to the emotional level as they could because they're not in a real environment. So I think creating real environments helps performance, helps emotional truth, helps everything that really resonates with audiences who watch this show.
And lastly, what do you hope viewers will experience when they watch Secret Invasion?
I hope that viewers will experience thrills and chills and satisfaction. I hope that there are elements of the show that they can take with them from their heart that will move to their head and make them think about the world we live in a different way, make them think about the themes of mistrust and paranoia and suspicion, and maybe change the world we live in today for the better.
Olivia, what does it feel like to be part of the MCU, and what was it about the character of Sonya that attracted you to the role?
Being part of the MCU for me is a dream come true. I've been asking to be part of it for quite a while. And Sonya, I mean, I always imagined maybe I'd be a superhero, but actually, Sonya, I loved playing her so much because I think she's funny. I find it hilarious that she goes to a torture scene with a rather chic coat, a little handbag, and is clearly loving her job. And I love the fact that she and Fury are friends, share a history, have each other's back, sort of take the piss out of each other. It's such an enjoyable relationship that we have.
I think somewhere down the line, Sonya should either get bitten by some insect or
Yeah.
thrown into a machine somewhere that when she comes out of it, she has the power of invisibility.
Oh, Samuel,
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yes, that would be
That'd be
amazing.
awesome, yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, work on that.
And she'd get longer legs as well.
Get
She'd
longer
go-
legs
yeah,
too, make her
yeah,
taller.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Sam, we see Nick Fury in a different light in the series. Tell us where he is and what is different about him when the story opens. Did you enjoy exploring this other side of him?
Seeing Nick Fury in a different light in this particular series, and do I enjoy showing that particular side of him? I've always wanted to be a human Nick Fury. I always thought I was. I mean, I realized that there is a perception of Nick as, being sort of a cold fish in ways, but the only thing that he does is run hot or stay cold. So it's kind of great to find him in the position that we find him in this particular series, coming back to Earth after what I believe or perceive to be 6 years of absence after the blip, and seeing the profound effect and damage that absence has done to him, or what happened in his head because he was gone, and trying to figure it out. And coming back and having people tell him he's not the same person that he was before, and him being smart enough to believe it and try and figure out a way to solve the problems that are presented to him as the old Nick Fury, and he seeks ways to find himself or to get back to the powerful person that he used to be, using the networks that he had from his past and some of the people in his present.
Olivia, Sonya is a seasoned MI6 agent. What is she trying to accomplish, and what is her relationship with Nick Fury like?
So Sonia's a seasoned MI6 agent, and she's basically she's trying to protect her country no matter what. That's a spy's job. She goes a little further than most spies. And her relationship with Nick Fury, they clearly knew each other back in the day before Fury's ascension to the spaceship and Avengers and everything, back when he was sort of on the ground working his way up as a spy. And I think that's when they met, and they, I think, respect each other's work. They're clearly working for different people, but I think they would always look out for each other, and they trust each other, and they admire each other. So, and they have a laugh. It's quite nice.
Sam, what is Nick Fury's relationship with Talos and the other Skrulls he brought to Earth?
Well, what is Nick Fury's relationship to Talos and the other Skrulls that? Well, if you saw Captain Marvel, you know that Nick Fury was with her while the Skrulls were having their war with the Kree. And he helped her liberate the Skrulls from the Kree, but also knowing that their world was destroyed by the Kree, promised them that he and Carol Danvers would find a new planet for them to live on. It's been almost 20 years now, and he has not fulfilled that promise. And the few Skrulls that he knew came to Earth because they had a destroyed ship, so they couldn't go off. Half of them were in a prison camp somewhere else, and the rest of them were stranded somewhere in the galaxy, and Carol was taking care of them, according to what Nick's knowledge is of them. So the few Skrulls that he knows are on Earth are Talos, his wife, their daughter, maybe one or two more. So it's a shock for him to find out that all these Skrulls are on Earth, and that Talos snuck them in and he's a bit perturbed by that idea and knows that if the general populace of the world found that out, that would be an issue. So that's where he is right now with them.
All right, so this one's going to be for the both of you. Tell us what you each enjoyed the most about working with one another. Olivia, you can go.
What I enjoyed most about working with Sam, that's very hard to answer as a one. There wasn't like one thing. I enjoyed the process of being on camera together, the acting together, but I love talking to Sam off set. I loved watching you interact with the whole crew, with your team. With it, the whole thing has been everything I'd hoped for. Like one of the loveliest men working, and I'm so honoured to have been part of it.
Oh my God.
You made us both cry.
Working with Olivia Colman.
You better be nice now.
Is that? It's, first of all, it's not work. It's, a joy and pleasure to share the artistic space in that way, from using words that other people have written to express our relationship on the inside of a story that feels like something that's genuine and not forced. That's very, 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 very precious to have when you're doing work, to make it seem like not work. The joy of seeing her come in the room and light it up, because that's what she does. The room just gets kind of brighter when she shows up, and everybody's like, "Oh, Olivia's here. This is going to be such an easy day," because she makes it easy and she makes it joyous. And you feel like you've done something special when you finish working with her, no matter what that is right now. Even in, something as trivial as what people think is a Marvel story. She does have, a wonderful life that, I'm always inquiring about and asking about, and I love hearing her talk about her kids and her husband. I think that, one of the wonderful things about being able to be in this business is you meet people that you genuinely know leave their mark on the world in a positive way. And that's what she does and is doing and has done. The world's a better place because she's in it.
Oh my God,
Especially
Sam.
mine.
Oh, you. I feel exactly the same. Now I'm going to cry.
All right, this is another one for both of you. Ali Selim directed all 6 episodes of Secret Invasion. What is his style and what does he bring to the project? Olivia, we'll start with you again.
See, Ali, who directed all 6 episodes, which is not common on a project like this. It's often 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 different directors.
Yeah.
And so, hats off to him for taking on all of us and all of that. He was always so calm, so gentle. Nothing was too much trouble. And, I would have, I was going to say my hair would have fallen out trying to do it, and he's not a man with a lot of hair. maybe that was us that did it to him. But he was the gentlest, sweetest, most intelligent, emotionally available, wonderful man. There was no shouting. Everybody respected him. He really knew what he was doing. He was on it. I just loved the ability when things were being set up around us. He could come over and have a chat, and he had amazing life experiences, and you sort of forgot that he was carrying the weight of all of this because he was so gentle and calm at all times.
Yeah.
A genuinely lovely human being, and I'm very pleased to have met him. I'm very impressed with what he did, and I loved being directed by him.
I always, Ali as director. I always think a director is very smart that, kind of leaves me alone. They hire us for a reason. And there are some people that come onto a movie set that I generally tell directors, I always tell them all the time when we have one of our first conversations, I've already seen this movie. And they go, what do you think? I said, well, in my head, I've seen the movie. I know what I'm doing from page 1 to page 151. And if you let me do it, I think you'll be okay. And he did. I commend him for that, you know, because there were difficult days, and not necessarily days that I was difficult with him, but there were difficult, you know, the situations were strange, or the things that were happening around the set, you know, and we were doing this right after COVID, so there were a lot of protocols and things going on. So it's not your general movie set, and he found a way to remain calm and a steady hand on the rudder of that ship that I don't think a lot of people would have been able to do.
Yeah.
And he allowed the production to blossom in all the ways that it had to blossom. And sometimes when, you know, the flower was up and it was sitting in the water, some days you come back and the petals would be curled up or falling off, and you'd look and go, okay, what are we going to do? And he was fine. It's going to be fine. And he would prune those things off, and they would, you know, put some fertilizer in the water, and it would get healthy again. And we would go away, and they would call us back and go, the flower's not so well right now. Could you come back? And he never, you know, assigned blame to anyone. He took responsibility for everything that was happening around there because he was the captain of that ship. And he was a good captain.
Yeah.
You know, in calm and stormy waters.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're a poet.
There were great practical sets and several interesting locations. What was your favorite set location and why, Olivia?
My favourite set, I think my favourite set on this, I think was the first set that you meet Sonia on, partly because it was in Hatfield House, which is a beautiful building, and I do love old buildings, and I've filmed in there before, so it was exciting to go back, and it was a huge room. There was lots of space for everybody, and you didn't have to build it. So that was, I love that building, so that I was very happy to go back there. And then other sets for me weren't as exciting as that. We were outside in the woods, that was nice. Car was fun.
Yeah.
But I think the most beautiful of my favourite set was definitely the first one in her office with all the clocks, which was Hatfield House.
I love that house too. I've actually shot in that house several times too.
Yeah, it does lots of
Yeah,
filming.
because we did part of Captain Marvel in that particular house.
Oh, did you?
It was no, it was something else. It was Scarlett's dance school. When she was a Russian, it was her dance school. We did a whole thing in there. So I like that set a lot, and one of the reasons I like that set so much is because that's where I met you. So that will always have, you know, that whole special thing. It's like the first thing I ever did with you was there, because this is not the last thing we're going to do together for sure.
I hope not.
And I liked my house. The house they created for me, or the house that they got that was that set, I liked that house. It was a nice house that felt like, you know, Charlene and I had lived in it. It felt like a lived-in space. Even though Nick wasn't there very much, according to the lore of the script.
I think what viewers can expect when they watch Secret Invasion is throw away what you expect to expect, because it is a Marvel Universe piece, but this is different. This is, I think, inviting a whole new load of fans in, because there's a lot of old school espionage, spy thriller stuff, which is, you know, it's a very Third Man and all sorts of
Truth be told,
yeah.
viewers can expect to see the best damn acting they've ever seen done in the Marvel Universe by this group of people that are on this poster, and everybody else who has a particular part in this series that passes through it in any way or any capacity, because the bar was set very high.
Yeah.
Amelia, you're new to the MCU. What
Yes.
does it feel like to be part of it, and what has your experience been like? Oh, and please incorporate the answer into the question.
Yes.
I feel completely privileged and lucky to be a part of the MCU for the very first time, and my experience of the MCU is the highest caliber known to TV, to film, to all of it. Not just the cast, which is ridiculous, but also the level of the crew, the writing, the direction, everyone who makes up the world of Marvel is at the top of their game and at the top of the tree. So it is a privilege to be able to be a part of it.
Ben, welcome back to the MCU. Tell us how you felt about reprising the role of Talos in this new series. How is it different in tone from what you did before in Captain Marvel?
Thank you very much for welcoming me back as Talos. It's a pleasure to be back. Getting the invitation and the opportunity to come back and revisit Talos in this very distinctly different project was absolutely thrilling. In some ways, I thought, okay, if I do my job well enough, then the stuff with Sam is going to be good and work out well. I had no idea how good this project was going to kind of become. I got the opportunity to work with this amazing actor who we were very, very fortunate that she came to join, and we are all the richer for it. It's an amazing project. It's very different in tone. Of course, those of you who are very familiar with the Marvel Universe are going to know that I had to do the entire the Spider-Man Coming Home film by myself. And obviously I got to learn a lot about Sam during that because I played him and whatnot. Those of you who go back and watch it will probably see little moments where I poke through when Sam's on the screen and whatnot. But that was that. And now, after, because he vacated the planet and whatnot for a good time, and I got to say, he vacated it so long that I'm kind of mad with him. I mean, I was okay with the Spider-Man thing, but I just don't think he really gave me the amount of money that I should have gotten for doing the whole film, basically, while he chilled out. But other than that, we're kind of cool.
Amelia, we're coming back to you. Tell us about your character, Gaia, and her relationship with her dad.
So Gaia is Talos' daughter, and the relationship that they have is incredibly strained and estranged when we first meet them. But with a father-daughter dynamic like this, there is a huge amount of water that's not quite under the bridge yet. There's a lot of tension between them whilst they're family, and they are each other's Achilles heel, and they affect each other in the way that only a very close family member has the capability to do. She makes it a mission to not be vulnerable. She makes it a mission to be as self-sufficient and independent as she possibly can be, almost as a kind of, screw you to her dad, really. But when we first see them, that setup that she's given herself doesn't last very long. And what you see throughout the show is you see a father-daughter relationship where both are on an individual journey of self-discovery and understanding what really matters to them on a moral aspect, but also they learn about the relationship that they do have and how to truly see each other for what they are.
And Amelia, what do you admire most about Gaia?
I admire her resilience the most. I admire her no F's given attitude and her strength and her honesty and her integrity. She's a badass motherfucker.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
Ben, you're up next. What does it mean to Talos when Nick Fury returns? What is their relationship like now?
It's strained. It's strained. Like I mean, Talos is really, really grateful really glad to see him, but I just wonder whether he's gotten back in time. That's really my concern. Is that, after all this, has he got back in time? Because we got a lot of weight to lift.
Ben, the theme of who do you trust underlies this series.
Yeah.
Tell us about how that theme manifests itself.
Well, the nature of the Skrulls has always been that they are suspect in terms of being able to trust them, right? They can shapeshift. You don't know. I could be talking to Amelia and she may actually be a genuine Skrull, right? That's just taken her on. But what has happened in the course of this thing is there's an invasion, and it seems like they might be Skrulls. So if that's the case, who do you trust in that scenario? You've got shapeshifters of varying abilities, and you've got Skrulls that are looking at things a way to be from a very, very different viewpoint. And we don't even know which Skrull sometimes is this or that. You got within Skrulls, you can't tell who to trust. Is that a human? Well, you can't trust anyone, and because you trust the wrong person, it's over. And a lot of people trust the wrong person and get taken and go, and they're just gone. They're gone straight away.
Then this is for both or either of you. What does director Ali Salim bring to the project?
Oh, he brought it.
Yeah, he did.
He really brought it on home. He directed, Ali Salim directed all 6 episodes, keep saying I don't know why, all 6 episodes, and he brought a vision and an integrity that he kept everyone on the path of. Yeah. But he also was incredibly generous as a director and gave each individual actor time for their character to develop and time for their character to be as rich and complicated and nuanced as possible. So it really felt, you felt safe in his hands and in knowing that he was always destined to make the best version of what this could be.
Yeah. I just, Ali was kind of like a revelation, really. Now, to be able to do that, to have the grace that Ali had, to have the sort of the sureness of touch, because it didn't feel like we went out there and did stuff again and again and again and then messed around doing angles and angles. The days moved, and they moved really quickly. And, he
felt on our side.
Yeah, and the other, that's it. And there would be times because, I act with a lot of uncertainty and just wanting to try something else and try something else. And when, and I said to Ali, listen, you just run me the way, this way, and it's going to be fine. And he took that, and he would always guide me back to where I think it was pulsatingly effective in the script. And that is something that not many people can do with the grace and generosity like Ali can, and not many people can spend the time listening and qualitatively feeding back to all of the actors. He's a person with immense giving power, and you want that from your director. You want your director to know what's going on, and you want your director to take you to the most effective zone as they see it at that time. And Ali is a really beautiful guy to work with.
The first question is, what drew you to the role of Gravik?
It was that Gravik was pitched to me as a really dark character, and I'd never played a villain before, I guess, and just had some great conversations with the producers, and I came on really early when they were still developing the show, so there were lots of ideas, and we had some great conversations about, the style of the show and what their intentions were, and how they wanted to create a thriller, espionage type vibe, and in a way that felt grounded and real. So that really appealed to me, and Gravik sort of building him around that tone just felt really appealing to me at the time, and it was a kind of a role that I'd never played before, so it felt really interesting for me.
Thank you. So the next one is, what was it like to play a villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Well, I'd never played a villain before, so it was really my first experience of playing a villain. And I think what was interesting about this was that he was Gravik was a character that we wanted to make as real as possible, and that it was really important to us that we made him as dangerous as possible, and that his relationship towards violence was really real, and that so to me it felt like I was in a drama. I sort of, at some point, it wasn't about being in the MCU, it was just about getting to play a really interesting and complicated role with a terrific group of actors, man. Like, the cast was just astonishing. So, and there was a couple of scenes I read that where Gravik is with Talos and Fury, and some of the writing Brian Tucker created was just awesome. It felt like pieces extracted from a play. So there was a part of me that knew it was going to be a lot of fun to act in. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I guess you responded already this, but what did you enjoy the most about this experience?
What I enjoyed the most, I guess, was I had a great time with the stunts team. Rob and the guys were so all over it. They especially with Gravik, because of his relationship to violence, I guess, and his ease around murder, mass murder. Working with those guys in the stunts team, that's what they're good at. So they have, they're all highly qualified in all sorts of martial arts and gun experts, and they're sort of pain teachers. So yeah, I enjoyed that because it helped me with the character. And and then there was a couple of scenes there's one scene with Sam that comes towards the end of the show, and one with Ben, I think, in episode 3 or 4, and I read those really early on, and the writing really excited me. Brian really put together some really dope scenes, and it was just at the time I was I'm gonna get to play these with Sam and Ben, so yeah, I was all in.
Thank you for that. The next one is, in general terms, tell us what Gravik's grievances is and what he wants.
I think Gravik's grievances is many things, really, but I guess hypocrisy is the word that comes to mind. I think he feels completely let down by the leadership in his life. One of those leaders being Fury and the other Talos. And I think we meet him at a point in episode 1 where he no longer trusts anyone, and that he's got a bone to pick with these guys, and he's really pretty far gone. My feeling was always that here's a guy who's really not well, and he's sort of riddled with rage and hatred to a degree that, to me, felt like it had to be. We had to go as far as we could go with that, and I think on one level what he wants is to gain as much power as possible in order to inflict as much pain and chaos as possible, while Nick Fury and Talos witness it happening. And so, yeah, it was trying to create as many layers around that as possible, so you feel that there is something going on with this guy underneath that's not what he's saying, and what he's saying and doing are two completely different things, and that when he's speaking to people, there's just needs to feel like there's something else going on underneath that feels uncomfortable. So yeah.
Thank you for that. The next one is there were a lot of detailed practical sets built for this series. How
Mhm.
did they inform your acting? Help you?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of some of the sets. Yeah, well, there's the reactor room and New Scrolls. What was my favourite set? There was a couple of scenes. There was one where they created the National Portrait Gallery, and there was some paintings on the wall that were really great. It was like putting this character in a context that felt so out of place. And it was just really interesting to get to explore, what would this guy's relationship be to some of these paintings and some of these people. And I think specifically there were certain like leaders from history that he's referring to. And yeah, just creatively it was really fun. I think they did a really great job with that portrait gallery. It really felt like we were in a gallery, and the paintings felt really real. This was probably my favorite set. And some of the war scene, well, not war, but like the shootout scenes, and when on the airport run, some of the stunt stays when we were outside with the helicopters and the ropes coming down. It was a lot of fun.
How was it working with Ben Mendelsohn and Samuel Jackson?
Yeah, I mean those two were the reason why I couldn't say no to the job. I guess it was a lot of fun, and there was one day where I was on set with both of them at the same time, and that was carnage. Yeah, there was just a lot of energy and a lot of fun. You put those two together, and it just goes off. But yeah, it was great to act with them in different ways.
Talk about your experience working with the director.
Yeah, me and Ali, we met really early on, and we had lots of really, great conversations about character and story, which is always, it's what you want, really. And yeah, I guess we tried to tune in as much as possible with like how do we like believably make this guy feel as dangerous as possible, and how do we make him feel really real within this. And I guess, yeah, grounded and dangerous are the two words that come to mind. And like, what was his relationships towards violence, and yeah, just each day we would just make sure that we were keeping him on the same track. And yeah, Ali was a great steerer of the ship in that way. He was open to as many rehearsals as we needed in the morning, as much time as we needed to get the scene right before we started shooting, to make sure we found all the right layers, and that we landed on the best possible version of the scene before we start shooting. We got to do that every day, so there's no rehearsal before you start shooting, but before we got to work each day, we'd make sure that we had time on the floor to do that. So I'm really grateful to Ali for that, because you don't always get that kind of time.
And lastly, if you could describe this series in one word, what would it be and why?
I guess the word it's either I'd say dark, or no, I'd say thriller. Espionage. It's very hard to do one word. Different. Yeah, for Marvel fans, I guess that's probably the most appropriate word, because it's yeah, I don't think they've tapped into this type of genre quite yet in the way that Secret Invasion's doing it.